Hey guys, it's Claire Cunningham here, and you are listening to the business side of music.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Can we get serious now?
One thing that did happen during the 60s was some music of an unusual or experimental nature did get recorded and did get released. Now look at who the executives were in those companies at those times. Not hip young guys. These were cigar-chomping old guys who looked at the product that came and said, I don't know. Who knows what it is? Record it, stick it out. If it sells, all right. We were better off with those guys than we are now with the supposedly hip young executives who are making the decisions of what people should see and hear in the marketplace.
Success in the music business begins with a dream, a vision. This podcast will give you, the listener, the insight and tools to turn that vision into a reality. Meet the industry professionals who work day by day behind the scenes, helping to make those dreams come true. Welcome to the business side of music.
In the studio with us today is multi-award-winning vocal coach and producer Sheri Thrower. Sheri is a one-stop shop artist developer for the music entertainment industry, a direct connection to the producers of America's most popular reality TV talent shows. We're going to talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
She's been described as the Oprah Winfrey of the music business. She's produced numerous award-winning vocalists and songwriters recognized by Gospel Music's Dove Awards and more. You can find some of her students in film. We might have to talk about that too. Sheri is also the founder and director of the highly acclaimed The Grove Jesus Music, whose artists are heard in over 115 countries on various streaming platforms. Hey, that's almost as much as the business side of music. That's awesome.
Oh, awesome.
Sheri, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's so good that we could finally make this happen. You and I were juggling, schedules like two mad jugglists with chainsaws, I think.
We were.
But we made it.
We made it. Thanks for having me.
Always good to have someone in the studio, trust me. I do want to ask you, we always start with this question.
Okay.
How did you get in the music business?
That's a great question. How did I get in the music business? I started out as a music teacher in North Georgia with an elementary school choir of 120 kids.
Oh my gosh, that's a large choir.
It is a large choir, and we were invited to sing at Radio City Music Hall. We were the only choir to ever be the pre-music for the Rockettes. So this certain group of kids that I directed were really, really super talented, and we all knew that we had a special group of kids here. So we started getting, we'd perform in New York and get invitations other places, and then we would start doing music videos, and then casting agents started seeing the music videos. So like people from different TV shows would call me about the kids, and then we put a song out there called Listen to the Music by the Doobie Brothers, and the Doobie Brothers called me because they had seen them. So we started getting a lot of attention from the entertainment industry, and one thing led to another. So when this group of kids graduated, we even went to America's Got Talent and got some callbacks. So I formed a group called SingAkadamie, which is a nonprofit organization, so that when these kids left the elementary school, we could all stay together because we knew we had something special. So that we've grown up together with these kids. And so I became like artist developer for these kids. And they still get calls from casting and different people noticing them, and even some of the top reality TV shows are still interested in this set of kids. So that became The Grove, because these are like seeds planted through the years. So I'm like the music mama, and a lot of these kids are Christians, so it became The Grove Jesus Music. And then I started teaching them songwriting, and then we would come up here to Nashville to record their songs, and then their songs started getting placed in movies. That's how I opened up the door for film for me, is because we recorded these songs like 3 and 4 years ago, and then all of a sudden they started getting attention. And then that opened up doors for me to compose for other films. So it all started with these little kids, and now they're in their 20s.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you talk about these little kids, what ages were they back then?
3rd grade.
Oh my gosh.
And now they're in their 20s.
Yeah, just youngins.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You said it was 100 and how many?
120 kids.
120 kids. How many have stayed in this course? Do you know how many have stayed in this direction of doing something in the music business?
A lot of them are doing something in the music business. Like I have one student that's a casting director now. And then I have others who are studio musicians that still sing with me. Others have gone on into film and acting. So, yeah, we're all like still doing things in the music and entertainment business.
If you don't mind, let's back up a little further.
Okay.
What was your musical upbringing and your musical education?
Good question. I grew up in a musical family, and my dad's a preacher, so I'm a PK. And I grew up singing in church. My whole family's musical, both sides of the family. So, like, my grandfather's a preacher on my mom's side. My dad's a preacher. His brother's a preacher. So I'm, like, surrounded by preachers. So growing up in the church and singing from early on, and then getting involved in music in school, in high school. And then I majored in music in college.
Were you primarily a vocalist, or were you playing any musical instruments?
Mainly a vocalist.
Yeah.
So when I graduated from the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, I had a BS degree in music education, vocal emphasis. So I think that's why I'm a vocal coach, because that's my training.
I want to jump around a little bit, if you don't mind. The performance at Radio City Music Hall, that doesn't happen too often unless you're a major name.
Right.
How did that come about?
That came about by somebody showing a travel agent our video of the kids performing.
And this is when the kids were still in 3rd grade?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
So he called me. He said, I've seen your kids perform. I know you don't know me, but somebody gave me your video. I sent it to the managers at Radio City Music Hall, and they love you all because we were little kids. I had these little kids, and they would sing grown-up songs, like the top pop songs that were out. So we sang it exactly like the harmonies, like listen to the music by the Doobie Brothers.
Which has got great harmonies in it.
Yes, and we kept those harmonies. We didn't change it. We kept it like people like to hear it. That song there, I mean, all the others that we did. And then we recorded, we performed Christmas music, and we sang real Christmas music about Jesus. And so they said we were the only really the only school in the country that they knew of that could still sing real Christmas music and get by with it. I got a lot of flack for it, but we did it, and that's why they liked the kids. So we would sing like Joyful, Joyful, We Adore Thee from Sister Act movie, and then, listen to the music by the Doobie Brothers. But little kids singing grown-up music. When
you talk about the Doobie Brothers reaching out, that had to have been a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
It was. It was actually it was the wife of one of the singers. And then I talked to, is it Tom, what's his name?
Tom Johnson.
Tom Johnson?
Yeah.
That wrote, talked to him too. So they called me, they were like, we've seen your kids. They're just great,
Wow.
Really sweet about it.
Your vocal coaching and recommending students to these TV reality shows. I get it a lot with different artists who come to me, hey, how can I get on The Voice, or how can I get on America's Got Talent?
Right.
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
How did that come about for you? Was it through this video once again?
I think it all goes back to that one video with my kids, because I had a talent. A casting director say, your name's been floating in Hollywood for about 10 years. So we've seen you on Instagram and your kids. So a producer reached out to me on LinkedIn and said, we still haven't found anybody that we think would be the winner. Do you have any students? So I said, I do. I have like 4.
Let me draw from this pool of 120. Yeah. I think I can find you 1 or 2.
Can find you someone. So I wrote them back and I said, I do. I have like 4. And they said, well, we wrote you like 4 weeks ago and we've already closed out auditions, but thank you anyway. And I said, I'm just now seeing my mail, but I think it'd be worth it if you would open back up the auditions to hear these 4. And I said, I'm just going to send them anyway. So I sent them my 4, and they liked all 4 of them.
They opened it back up for these 4.
They did. And then we had an interview with one. One of the students is in seminary to be a priest, and they wouldn't let him out yet, so he didn't get to go. But I had another little girl that they've been calling about her since she was in the 3rd grade because she's such a great singer. She went for an interview. They were interested in my daughter. I just had an interview 2 nights ago with a new one that they're interested in. And so I just send in videos and say, what about this one? And they'll say yes or no, and then they'll set up an interview.
We're going to take a break, get a word in for a couple of our sponsors.
Okay.
And when we come back, we're going to have some more conversation with Sheri Thrower.
Great. Thank you.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Since 1963, Korg has been creating new experiences in music and performance. That is what drove the creation of some of Korg's most legendary products, such as the Poly 6, the M1, the Electribe, the Triton, the Minilog, the Kronos, Wave State, Op6, and most recently the Nautilus, which is what we have here in our studio. Korg is dedicated to creating new, innovative, and uncompromising instruments which maintain the highest quality to inspire music makers, past, present, and future. Visit Korg.com or your favorite Korg dealer to get your hands on one of their products and start creating new music always. Korg, the official sponsor of the business side of music.
Hi, everyone. I'm Larry Butler, and I want to send you a free digital copy of my new book, The Singer-Songwriter Rulebook, 101 Ways to Help You Improve Your Chances of Success. That's right. Everything you need to know to launch your career as a singer-songwriter, all based on my 40 years in the live performance arena. And believe me, I've seen it all. In my book, you'll find the 10 things you have to deal with before even thinking about becoming a singer-songwriter performer. You'll also learn about the 5 things every singer-songwriter can do this weekend to make their live show better. 5 things I can guarantee that you are not doing already. Plus, there's tips on songwriting and staging, photo and video shoots, publishing, merch, dozens of other topics. All written for people who don't particularly like to read. And again, it's free. Just go to the Business Side of Music website homepage and look for my book cover. Click on it, and a free digital copy of my book will be yours. I'm Larry Butler, and I approve of this message. Thanks.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Back in the studio here in Nashville, Tennessee, with our guest, Sheri Thrower, sitting across the podcast table. Artist development, you come across as a one-stop shop for artist development and vocal coaching. They're kind of two in the same, but they're actually 2 different things at the same time. I get the vocal coaching part. You're working with 120 elementary school kids who are now growing up. They're in their 20s. They're finding different success in their careers. And now you have this one-stop shop artist development. Artist development for my day, when I was in it, has changed a lot since I'm sure you're doing it. Is this something that just came naturally to you, or did you do some reading up on it, or how did that all come about?
I think it did come naturally to me because I work with vocalists, and I am a vocal coach, but I also teach songwriting, and I work with groups on stage presence before they go out on the road and choreographing their shows.
Right.
So all of the stage presence and the songwriting, and then taking them to bring them up here to Nashville to record, and then uploading their singles and promoting it and getting them ready for interviews. That's all a part of it. Actually, somebody told me, what you're doing is artist development. I was like, I am? Okay.
I didn't know that's what I was doing. But it's such an important component of everything that you do, especially when you're getting them on these reality TV entertainment shows. It's something that I notice that my wife will watch The Voice,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll watch a couple of the artists on there, and I just cringe. I'm like, oh my gosh, you have absolutely zero stage presence.
Right.
That's what you're helping teach.
Right. And it does have to be taught.
Yeah, it does. Very little of that comes naturally.
Right. And even when I directed my choir, 120 kids, if I wasn't getting an audience response like I wanted, I knew that was my fault because I wasn't putting out the energy, because the choir will reflect back what the director's doing. So I was always paying attention to the temperature of the room, because I knew that what energy you put out is what you get back. So if the kids are getting a little tired from the performance, then I would make sure I'd give out a little more facial and body movements and everything to get them hopped up. You know how it goes when you're in a concert and maybe the mood drops a little bit and then it comes back up. But the performer has to have that energy, and it does have to be taught.
They're feeding off the audience. So what you're doing is you're teaching them to feed off of you, which in reflection
Right.
is off the audience.
Right.
Yeah.
Your audience is key.
How do kids respond to taking direction? Now, I was the poster child for ADD. Just ask my wife, she'll tell you.
I'm there with you.
How is it to work with some of these fresh young minds and being able to capture their attention for really more than 5 minutes?
As a teacher, now I don't teach school anymore, but when I did teach school, I'm very strict. And some people might say I'm too strict, but I'm also their best friend. So like even today, they call me Mama. You know, they'll call me up, hey, Mom, can I come over? I'm in your neighborhood. Can we eat a bologna sandwich or whatever? They'll come over and see me, but they know that I have a high standard and I'll get the best out of them, but it comes with good behavior. You know, you can't learn unless things are in control. So I think the discipline's a big part of it.
When you say in control, because the music business, the entertainment industry as a whole, is really kind of organized chaos.
Right.
On a good day.
Right.
So having these kids have some kind of organization in their lives and controlling in the mind is got to put them one step farther than others.
It's just like we had an interview with a talent show the other night, the producers, and I told the artists that they were interested in, I said, let me just get you prepared before you meet them, because it is like 20% about talent. You think it's about your voice. It's about a whole bunch of other stuff than your voice, because voices come a dime a dozen. Good voices come a dime a dozen. But how you communicate in an interview, you got to know they're going to ask you to do something last minute. Guarantee you they will make you wait a long time, and then they'll come on and they'll probably ask you to do something crazy. So they did. And they knew that my student was an award-winning clogger. So they loved her voice, but they said, by tomorrow afternoon, we want to see her sing a song and clog in the middle of it.
Oh, my gosh.
And she did.
She did.
And I said, we'll do it. And they put, demands on me, too, that, we need to see this person sing in their church this Sunday. So I'm calling up the music minister and saying, hey, they're interested in Lily. Can Lily sing a solo? Well, Lily's not on the schedule. Well, can you put Lily on the schedule just for this so we can film her singing in church? So a lot of last-minute stuff. You have to be flexible and willing to say, yeah, we'll do that.
I would think with the reality TV shows, once again, it's America's Got Talent or The Voice or insert name here, American Idol, those producers probably get handed a rather large list, almost a cattle call of entertainers. And as you said, singing is an important part of it, but it is only that 20%. There has to be kind of that it factor. Is that something that you help develop? Is that it factor into each of these kids?
I think I do. I think I recognize the it factor. A lot of people will come to me for vocal coaching and songwriting and all that, but that's who I recommend. I don't recommend every voice student to these people, but I do recognize that it factor. I even told the girl that got the interview the other night, I said, what's going to set you apart is that you're a clogger. And if you'll do your interview like they wanted her in a video, I said, clog up to the camera. And then at the end, jump up and click your heels together and then say, hey, and tell her name. I said, that will set you apart because that will get their attention. And you got to get their attention. Think of all the people that they're looking at. So she did. She clogged up to the camera. So I sent them the video, and they called me. They said, we love the clog, and she's the only clogger we've ever had. So, but she's a songwriter, and they're interested in songwriters now. And I think that's how it's changed.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's kind of not been the norm in the past.
Right. They're interested in the singer-songwriter, more of the emoting side. They still like the belting and the big voice and the big sound and that note, but it has turned to, can you get an audience in your hand by singing softly and being the Taylor Swift songwriter? So I do a lot with songwriting because I know that's what gives an artist an edge, is if they write their own songs.
When it comes to songwriting, and Nashville is the kingdom.
Oh, yeah.
Songwriters. How do you get that first step of knowing how to write a song?
When my students come to me, I just say, what's your story? And I type the whole time they're talking. Because I know a good song comes from the heart.
Yeah.
So I'll say, just talk about anything you want to. Do you even have any titles on your mind? And sometimes they'll tell me that title, and I'll say, just tell me about it and just talk. So I'll type the whole time that they're talking, and then after it's over with, I'll say, look at these original lines right here. Like, I've never heard this in a song before. And that's the thing about it, is finding originality and finding those lines that you don't hear in songs before, but, getting to the heart. Get people to write from their heart. And that comes from their story.
And finding the hook in the process.
Yes.
Because it is all about the hook.
Yes.
Yeah. And these kids are how old when they start writing?
I've had kids mostly in their teens.
Yeah.
They come to me in their teens.
That's a good age to start.
It is. Yeah, and it is a learning process. I mean, people think that's just downloaded from heaven. And maybe it is, but I find that songwriting is a craft that you have to study and learn. And it's very intelligent with emotions involved.
I think contrary to what a lot of songwriters would say in this town, successful and aspiring songwriters, it doesn't really come naturally. You hope it does, and many of them have great stories to tell. I was actually on a conference call today with a gentleman who said, "Would you mind if I send you this song I wrote?" And I said, "Absolutely." And I haven't looked at the lyrics yet. He just sent it to me a little while ago. I think the idea, the thought process is there for something that is original and could possibly be a hit. But you really have to suss that out, don't you, when you get into the writing process?
You do.
It's not an easy road sometimes, too, because you have to really, sometimes you have to take a look at yourself when you're in that writing process.
You do. It's all about self-assessing. And it's all about being vulnerable, too. I mean, I know there's fun songs, but if you're going to write a song that comes from your life story, you have to be vulnerable and willing to go there.
It's those life experiences.
It is.
Yeah.
How long does it take to write a song? A lifetime.
Ooh, that's a good analogy. I love that. You come up with that?
Actually, my friend Phil Cross in gospel music came up with that.
Yeah.
And he told that to me.
We'll have to quote him on that.
Yeah.
We're going to take another break, get another word in for a couple more of our sponsors. And when we come back, some more conversation with Sheri Thrower.
You're listening to the business side of music.
It may have been Tammy Wynette who sang Stand By Your Man, but it was actually Nancy Jones who stood by the legendary George Jones for more than 30 years and helped bring him to the light. Now in her new book, Playin' Possum, readers get an intimate look at the country music legend through the eyes of his wife and partner. Nancy knew George Jones better than anyone. The good and the bad, the horrendous and the hilarious. Married in 1983, George quit his wild and wicked ways for a while, but Nancy learned all too soon that there were demons holding a strong grip on the man she loved. People who knew the possum credit Nancy's tenacious love, faith, and encouragement for saving George's life and rebuilding his career. For the first time in Playin' Possum, Nancy Jones reveals the true insider perspective and little-known stories about the country music legend, his battles with cocaine, alcohol, abusive behavior, battles with himself, and against the demons that sought to control and destroy him. Read the compelling first-hand account from the woman who refused to give up on George Jones. Playin' Possum is available now. Order your copy today from NancyJonesBooks.com, Amazon, and more.
Whether you consider yourself a musician or not, music is all around us, and it affects our everyday lives, whether it's background music influencing our shopping habits in a store, organ music adding the vibe to a baseball game, or a playlist convincing us to keep going on that last mile of a run. I'm Mindy Peterson, host of the podcast Enhance Life with Music, where we take a holistic look at music's benefits through the lens of science and medicine, entertainment, and business. You can find me and Enhance Life with Music at mpetersonmusic.com/podcast or wherever you get your audio.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Back in the studio, sitting across the podcast table, is Sheri Thrower. During this extended break we took to get a word in for our sponsors, we find out a couple other things about you that we did not have in our show notes here. You performed with Barry Manilow.
I did when I was in college. Barry Manilow came to the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, and I was in a show choir there under the direction of the late Glenn Draper, which is a big hero of mine. But yeah, we sang one voice and dancing in the streets, and it was an electric concert. I'll never forget it. It was wonderful.
You do much rehearsing with them, or was it just kind of...
We rehearsed one time.
One time?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got on stage.
We did.
And then there's Wink Martindale. Now, a lot of people my age, I know who that is. A lot of our young listeners don't know who Wink Martindale is. Tell me a little bit about that story.
Well, we were in Hawaii. I was with SingAkadamie, these kids, and we were on the corner of a street, and this man had sunglasses on, waiting to cross the street with us, and he said something about the kids. I think he wanted to know if I was a teacher, so I turned around to see who was talking to me, and he had on sunglasses, and I recognized him right away. He said, "Are you the music teacher?" He took off his glasses, and I said, "I am, and you're Wink Martindale." He said, "I am," and I said, "And where are you going?" He said, "We're going to the rehearsal room over here for a show." I said, "Well, that's where we're going." He said, "So you're a choir," and he wanted to know about us, so he said, "I'm doing the Pledge of Allegiance." Is it Red Skelton? The Red Skelton version?
Yes.
He said, "I'd love for your kids to sing with me on that." So at the last minute.
So totally unprepared, unrehearsed.
We threw that together with Wink Martindale. And then after that, I just loved him. He was such a nice man. And when we left, I said, when we go back home, we're having a concert. And do you mind, would it be asking too much if you made a video to introduce my concert? And like the curtains open, and it's you sitting on your couch at home saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Wink Martindale, and welcome to it was Boynton Elementary Chorus at the time. Welcome to the show, and here's your director, Sheri Thrower." He did it exactly like I asked him to. The curtains open, that huge screen, and there was Wink in his home, and he introduced the show. And our parents loved it because they knew who he was.
Right. Let's jump forward a little bit to film composing, because that's another one of many hats that you wear. Let's talk about film composing.
Okay. I just had one of the Grove Jesus Music songs placed in an independent film, and that happened because I posted this song on my Facebook page. It's called Build a Bridge. It talks about laying down our differences and building a bridge. So this movie producer contacted me, and he said, "That goes along with a line in my movie. I say those words exactly. We're going to build a bridge," and talking about the generation gap. He said, "So what I need to do to use your song in the movie?" So I talked to him about it. He put the song in a movie. We went to the theater to see the premiere of it, which was exciting. And then from that, other people saw where my song was in the movie with him, and then they contacted me to write the music for their movie. So I just did the instrumental music for a romantic comedy. And I went to Atlanta to watch them film it so I could get an idea for the music. So that was exciting to go and work with the movie director and producers, and it was a top-notch team. And my friend Barbara Kerr-Condon, she's my acting coach, but it's her movie. She wrote it, and so we did the proof of concept video, and I did the music for it. And so now that film is going to be presented to the 168 Film Festival, and Angel Studios, who has The Chosen,
When you talk about Angel Productions, they've really broken big.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're choosing the top 10 of these proof of concepts, and they'll choose one to fund and promote. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that that's going to be our movie. But the door's just opened.
It's amazing how you just seem to be in the right place at the right time, and that door opens.
I did. And I call that providence.
Yeah.
God's providence.
That's a good word for it.
It's all God's providence.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wonder why. But he gives me favor, and I'm thankful.
Yeah. There's
like
nothing
today and meeting you.
Yeah. Nothing wrong. Well, I don't know about meeting me, but there's nothing wrong with that. So what's next for you?
What's next? I still want to do artist development, vocal coaching, presenting these talent shows with some really top talent. And I want to do more in film and television. And I think that's what I want to do for the rest of my life is film.
Not a bad way to live the rest of your life.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the show today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
The Business Side of Music is the creation of Tom Sabella and Tracy Snow and is produced by Bob Bender. The Business Side of Music is recorded at Music Dog Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. Production sound design by Keith Stark. Voiceover and promo by Lisa Fuson.